Welcome to Naked, the podcast about authenticity. The podcast with Matt and Phil, where we discuss each week for approximately an hour, even if we try to do it for 45 minutes, about different topics. And since you love when I'm doing that, Matt, last week, I don't remember what we talked about. I say, yeah, being in action. I mean, it's that because the week before we talked about something that is a link to it, which having fear to be in action or fear to move, and other stuff like celebrating life. So, how are you doing, Matt?
I'm good, super good. But last week we spoke, that was the other week before about being in action. Last week we spoke about when all those days where everything goes sideways.
True. You see, like,
about the struggle. So as you can see, all of our episodes are unscripted and we swear, so it's unfiltered. And I always have to check that little box when I publish the episode on Acast. They ask, does this episode contain explicit language? And I always have to hit yes, so that we don't that we get classified in the right category. And it's also uncut, so it's an episode podcast, but it's a live form. We just record it and then put it on the media, and that's it. So enough for the intro. Second intro. I'm good. I mean, I had a good weekend, a nice lover getaway.
it's good.
In some paradise place. And in fact, I visited another country this weekend.
Which is?
Which is Guatemala.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. In fact, I learned this weekend that some borders, how can I say that? Like they're not at some point on borders, there's no border patrol, and you can just literally go in and out freely in a country. And I was really surprised. I don't know. I feel like a traveler right now, but I haven't traveled that much. And it was so mind blowing for me. I don't know. I had this thought in my head that almost like everywhere was like the Great Wall of China, and you could just not cross in the country if you were not going through a border patrol control.
You know what you can do? You know what you can do the same in Canada, right?
Probably, but I didn't know.
There's a lot of people that do that during the winter. During the winter. Okay, Are we gonna talk about that international?
Whatever. Let's just go.
I mean, I have a link with a subject that I read this week, and I mean, I don't know if I have a subject, but anyway. No, in Canada you can do that in snowmobile. In snowmobile, which is like during the winter. There is a lot of people that cross the forest and just go through to the US. And in general, like people get arrested and everything because they're not supposed to. But the border of Canada and US is the longest in the world, which is like 5,000 and something kilometers.
Yeah.
Approximately. So it's the longest in the world. So obviously, like you can't have people every kilometer to check if there is someone crossing. And the ex-president didn't want to build a wall with Canada. So.
Yeah, and the US are, I think, one of the craziest with that also. They patrol everywhere around the borders, but a lot of countries, I realize, they just don't give a fuck really, because there's like where we were 30 minutes to the right, there was a border patrol, like a control to get your passport stamped and everything. But where we were, there's literally, it's an attraction, tourist attraction, and you have this lake that they call Lake International, and it's the border for Mexico and Guatemala. It's straight in the middle of the lake, but it's a really, really small lake. And around that, you can just walk, and there's like artisan market, and you just walk, and at one time you're now in Guatemala, and the other you come back and you're in Mexico. And we talked to a guy in Guatemala, and we're like, can we just enter here and go and visit Guatemala? He's like, yeah, Why not? I'm like, I don't know. In my head, we're supposed to go and stamp the passport, but seems that no. So
Like,
I told
did you
Jamie,
ask the question if those people have passport? Because that will be interesting. You can stamp something if they have a passport. If they don't, obviously there is nobody like controlling, because otherwise it's like, nah.
yeah, no, I think it's really less than what we think. Depending on the country, I would assume. Um, but yeah, I told to Ginny, let's do a test and go all the way down the furthest we can to like going to towards like South America by crossing all these places where you don't need to go to border patrol, and then try to come back to Mexico the same way, because obviously if you cannot take a plane from that country really, because when you go out, I mean, maybe you could, they don't check the stamps on your passport that much, but whatever, that's another discussion. Let's not get into technicals of travel, or maybe we should do a travel episode, because I'm in
Yeah.
Mexico and you're in Barcelona, and
I mean, I will talk about experiences, obviously.
yeah,
Uh,
but you said
but I
you
don't
had
know.
an
Yeah,
idea.
no, it's because this week I saw, because you talk about travel, and it makes me remember something that I saw this week on LinkedIn, from someone from Quebec. And
Okay.
it kind of make me laugh a little bit, because it's like, this kind of post that want to defend immigration.
Hmm.
And it says like one third of the entrepreneurs in Canada or in Quebec or immigrants and all that. And I was thinking about it, and it's like, for me, it's funny, because it's like I think Quebec is the oldest city in Canada, which is approximately 413 years old or 14 years old, approximately. So most of the people that went to Canada have been there for like 100 years, 150 years maximum. So basically, everybody is an immigrant when you look at it that way. And but since you arrived 100 years ago, you're saying it's my place. And I just thought about it, and I was like, that's weird. I wonder, where it becomes that it's my place now. Now it's my place. And it's like, if somebody do the same thing that my grandparents did or my parents did, like even, one generation ago, you're an immigrant and I'm not anymore. I wonder where is that limit, you know?
Yeah, after how many years
After how
that
many
you
years,
be
after how many generations?
how many years or how many generation you become a native, and the native before you, they don't care anymore, now they're
Exactly,
trash. And
exactly. So because traveling today, and you talk about it, and it's really great, like it's really an experience. And with globalization and the fact that traveling right now, we discussed about it, that traveling, I told my experience from 15 years ago that you had to go for a travel agency, and when you were taking the plane, it's like, I don't know where I'm going. You arrive, you don't have internet because your phone doesn't work at all. It's like it's not even like you go to the next internet. Is that when you arrive there, it doesn't work because it's not the same type of, anyway. But
you
now
open the big map, the big paper map, and
yeah. But now traveling is super easy. You can take a plane from anywhere and you can go anywhere. And when you think about it, and you're not necessarily feel good in your country, why not? Are you not capable to test in another country? And at the same time, you have still the people that are thinking, no, this is my country and you shouldn't come here. Obviously, let's be honest, we're talking about country that if you're white and you're coming, that's okay. If you're not, it's more a bit of a problem. But I just wonder what happened, in the head of people. But
yeah, it's
I don't know if we can
you're
talk about it, but
touching you're touching on something that's really, really sensitive, and I like it. And normally I feel it's you, I feel normally it's me going like carelessly into sensitive subject, and now
but
I
because,
feel it's you
but no,
going
because
straight into a big taboo
yeah,
about
I mean, for me, it's
racism,
not.
immigration, and all this.
But that's the
Sorry.
thing. I thought about it, and it's like it's funny because everybody is agreeing to go on vacation where it costs nothing. Everybody loves to go, for example, from Canada, from the US, they love to go, in the winter. It's I don't remember how it's called, but they all go to Caribbeans, Dominican Republic, Mexico, all this region there. They all go there. They go to Fort Lauderdale, and then after that they take a cruise or whatever. They go directly to Cuba or whatever. And there is no problem, because it's cool. I mean, it's cool. You go there, you pay nothing. A beer costs nothing. You can get smashed during a week. You can fish, like you have like even opportunities. But these people, so it's an opportunity that you have because you're coming from a rich country going to a country that has less resources. So obviously you take an opportunity in one side. You will never live there because it's lower in terms of your life quality that you have. But those people that want to have the way around, it's like, no, you shouldn't come here. And for me, like, I was thinking about it and I was like, that doesn't make sense. So this was my thinking during the end.
And well, I also believe it doesn't make sense. It's like, oh yeah, the rich country people, we can go into poorer country and it should be accepted, but the poorer country people, they don't have the right to come in our country because they're too poor. That's just, they don't have the right color of skin, or they're too poor, or they come from a country that we don't have nice political alliances with. Because let's face it, it's only about you know what I realized lately? We all know that the game of Risk is a game about domination of the world and everything, but I don't know why.
Board game.
Yeah, the board game Risk.
Okay.
I don't know why, but lately I really realized that it was that the whole world, politics, economy, everything was just one big risk game. And it's exactly the same. Like you just when you analyze it like that, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, oh, this country is allied with this one because they have this shared interest, but they are allied for a time because maybe when their interest gonna change, one's gonna just drop that alliances and get allied with someone else. And like, I was thinking about that. I was looking at it in a really different way, and that's what it is. So my point by saying that is that if you have a country that's allied with another one, oh yeah, that's good. Immigration, people can, yeah, it's way easier to go and exchange people in these two countries because the alliances are good. But then if it's not in the interest of that government of the country to be allied with this, then they make like super hard for these people to come in the country. And yeah, it's such a big issue we're talking about. And it has so many sides that we can analyze. I would say there's argument in favor and against, because like it's not just black or white. Yeah, against I mean against immigration. Like there's arguments that say yes, like blending of culture should be, and it's good, and there's other argument which is we're trying to build a culture of our own and letting people in, coming with their different culture, different ideas that want to kind of dilute our culture, makes it hard to build a strong culture for people who thinks that they should build like one how do you say that, homogeneous culture.
But this is it's funny because even in Quebec, you take just Quebec, right? Or you take just France, or you take just, I don't know, Alberta, or the US. The culture, for example, in New York State, and the culture in California, and the culture in Texas is nothing at all, and they're all American. I mean, it's so different when you, and this is what I mean by traveling, and you're encountering all those experiences. And this is what I'm talking about, that is really interesting when you're traveling, is the fact that you see the differences. Um, so I had the opportunity, or I made the opportunity, whatever you want to, I had the opportunity to travel. And the cool thing is that I took from the culture that I went in what I liked, and I kept or I discarded some of the things that I didn't like in my culture, and I exchanged it because it's better. Uh, so, for example, I love the fact that in Quebec and in Canada, people are laid back, and they appreciate life and they enjoy, certain things, and they don't. For example, when they go, I was talking about golfing, and I was talking about my experience about golfing in Canada. Golfing in Canada, everybody golfs. It's not like a thing that is like, you can go in shorts. And yeah, obviously you don't have access to all the golf clubs, but you have a lot of golf clubs where you can even go like in flip-flops. Not a
Yeah.
problem. They're like, yeah, you want to play, go play. You do that in France, what are you doing? It's like, where are you going with your shorts? Like, do you think it's a beach club? What are you doing? And it's funny how tradition, like when it went away, because people in Quebec are from France, they took the stuff, but they're like, yeah, we discard that and we take just what we want. Golf is cool. The thing about the tradition about being stuck up, not cool. So we get rid of that. We did our own thing. So yeah, it's I mean, for me, it's a subject to talk about.
Yeah, well, which is a good thing. And you were talking about the United States, and you bring a point that's really interesting, because before they were not United States, they were all by themselves, and that's how they became the most powerful country in the world, is by uniting all their states together under one banner, and all their differences, all the different culture, and they came together to make a superpower.
Yeah,
Which is really funny when you think about it.
But it's the same for Canada. It's the same for France. Before France was like, the France before was Paris and a bit around, and the rest was other countries.
Yeah,
you can talk it like that.
Before
and then they decided to unite around a king, and it became the Kingdom of France. And it's kind of the same thing. But it's still funny that, for example, even in Europe, it's complicated to go from Spain to France. If you want to live there, it doesn't go together. Like right now, we're seeing with people wanting to be digital nomad, for example, it's super hard to travel when you want to go somewhere, because I just want to live there, spend my money there, but still pay taxes and everything. People are like, no, that's a headache. It's like, no, you can't do that. So yeah.
It's getting easier and easier, and it's gonna get to there. But yeah, so I can just speak from my experience. I've been living in Mexico for 8 months now, which is crazy when I think about it, because the longest I was out of my country before was maybe a month and a half, or like I never really did more than that. And it just feels so good to have that freedom and to be welcomed. And what is really funny is that most of the time it's not the people that won't be welcoming. It's basically, if the government say, oh no, we don't welcome these people, then it's kind of a virus that's going to spread in the levels of the society until like the everyday people, and then they won't be welcoming. But naturally, wherever you go, whatever, people are curious. Like they see you, they obviously know you're not from the place, and most of them, they just want to interact with you. They just look at you. The small children, they look at you with like big eyes and they smile at you, and people are mostly really welcoming in their nature. So being kind of hateful of people that are not like you, that are different, that come from other places, is learned, is not what their natural state of being is, because the first response is curiosity. You're always like, you see someone that doesn't look like you, you're like, oh wow, and you want to know more, you want to see more, you want to say, hey, come and have a coffee, we like, I want to know your story and everything. And for me, that's what it is. That's how I feel here, and that's what travel. You know what I like the most about travel that I really realize is the fact that it just shatters so many of your belief.
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
you're in your country and you think like that, and you've been raised in that society and that culture, and you think that's how the whole world works.
Totally.
And you have preconceived idea of so many things, and then you get out and you go to another place, and it just get fucking shattered because you see that so many things you thought of are wrong, and so many things you thought were wrong are actually untrue. And you like, just Mexico, I take the example because that's where I am, and I told you it's crazy how people think Mexico is dangerous because the only thing they know about Mexico is the fucking cartel series they see on Netflix, and all these, like, they think it's like the whole country is a big gun show and everyone kill each other. Like,
All the time, every day,
all the time,
every
every day. And that's so far from the truth. Yes, there's a lot of corruption, and in fact, the worst criminal in Mexico, I can tell you, is the police. It's not the cartel; it's the police. Uh, but yes, there are areas that are worse than other. But Mexico is so big, and you cannot put one idea of a country in one basket and say it applies to everything. A country is big. There's always places that are paradise and that people don't do the thing the same way. You just think about Quebec. I mean, you go 2 hours from Quebec City to Montreal, and people, it's a whole different way of thinking.
Yeah. Quebec, I was disappointed.
So, in the city, you
know,
mean?
No, but I mean, like, before I went there, everybody's just told, like, yeah, it's savage and everything. So it's true. I say to everyone, the things that we say it's true is Canadian are nice people in general. That's true. Mm-hmm. That's the only place where you go at the petrol station and you don't want to use the card directly on the thing. You want to go inside to talk to the guy because it's nice to go talk to the guy. So it's almost like, don't put me the thing automatic. I don't want to do automatically. I want to come and talk to you inside. So that's really true for that. Everybody asks you how you are, and if you answer how are you, they're like a bit weird because they don't understand why you ask that, but that's okay. The thing was, I was expecting it to be more wild a little bit. And the only truth that you have inside Quebec, it's maybe, squirrels. That's what you see inside Quebec. There is no wolves, there's no bears inside the street. They're not there. I saw a bear one time. It was in Stoneham.
And that's lucky.
I was super lucky. And I saw an orignal. One time.
Orignal, a moose.
It's not the same. It's not the same. A moose.
It's totally the same.
There is a difference. Anyway, doesn't matter. But the thing is, for the rest, though, when you go in there and you see, the forest and everything, it seems untouched. That's true. On that side, it's totally true. It seems completely untouched. But as you said, you learn so much. And the experience I had there is when I went to university. So I was at the dorms, at university, and the dorms are the best representation of the culture in the world. So that's really funny. I'm gonna talk just about one thing. At night, everybody, go and prepare food in the kitchen, and it's communal kitchen. So you can't like just prepare food for you. It's like communal for everybody. And I was in the main one, the Baron, which was the biggest one. Like we were like, anyway, it's like really big kitchen. What is funny is that you see which side of the world you're in based on the hour you're coming to eat. So the people that were coming to eat at 5 to 7 or to 6 were people from Quebec or people from Canada in general. They were the earliest to eat. Then you had the French, you had the French or the European that were coming from 7 to 9. And then from 8:39 to 11 midnight, you had basically the people from Middle East and Africa that were coming. And when I arrived in Canada, it's so funny because I mean, right now it's not the same thing. Like when I left, it was basically full planes of French people, so they were doing like tables of French people. But when I arrived in Canada, we were having a table of multiple. There was some people from Quebec, there was some people. I mean, from Quebec, the region, the province. Some people from the U.S., some people from Middle East, some people from Africa, some people from Europe. And it was so funny because we were talking about stuff. Sometimes we were talking also about food and how we were eating, and we will see like the differences from everyone. And this is how most of the education I got from school got debunked. I'm honest, because I had preconception about a lot of stuff. And suddenly I had all these people around the table that first didn't have the same education as me, because they had an education that was part of their world, and maybe the alliances that they had and or they have from the past is not the same. So they don't see the history the same way you see it, and they're not taught the history from the same way you see it. Second, it's because you see the truth. I will call it like that. You see the truth about a story from different point of view. And it's so cool to share that inside a table when you're with people that are open-minded and everything, because we got some heated discussion, to be honest. First discussion were funny, but that's the experience I'm talking about. I think this is what you're talking about also.
Yeah, and it's cool because you're talking about kind of traveling in your own country. Like you were there, but you could have also been to a university in France and go in the not immigrant dorm, but I mean you go in the place where everyone is mixed together, and then you kind of travel inside your own country because you meet people from all around. And but traveling is, before I start, because I started late, man. I started fucking now maybe 2 years ago, in my first backpack and to travel, and I'm 33. And before that, you always hear these things like, travel makes what's the saying? It's like travel makes the youth, or I cannot remember what's the saying. But it basically it just says that's how you build yourself, is by traveling. And when you've traveled, let's say you went to, okay, I'm from Quebec, so for us, we go to Cuba, or we go to the all included in Atlantic Mexico, like Caribbean Mexico, and it's not really, I mean, it's a bit of travel, but it's not really traveling. You don't like expand your view, like going there, just a bit. Before that, these things, I was like, I've traveled. I mean, I've traveled all around Quebec, my province, and I've been a bit to the United States, and I've been like to Cuba, and I thought I really had traveled, and I didn't feel that it changed me that much. But the real travel is really when you go somewhere that's totally different. I mean, the United States and Canada, they are pretty much the same. Wow. They're just a bit fatter in the US. I come from Quebec, and I've been to the United States. The only difference is they speak English. They are a bit fatter, and they are a bit more closed in their opinion. I mean, it's not like, but it's not like a total mind-blowing
I know
change of scenery. Like not at all. Like it's
no, I agree.
And we learn English in Quebec, so even the language is not that different. But when you go to a place where they live a completely different life, different language, different culture, different color of skin, different like political views, different like everything, it's where you really, it's kind of, the more point of view you get from really different sources, the better you can make your own truth.
Mhm.
And you realize that what you thought before was not in itself all wrong, but you realize it was just a part of the truth, and that there's a bigger truth. And the more you travel, the more you see how it works for real by yourself, the better you are at realizing what this world is about. Every conviction you have, you can test it against other people conviction, and you just get a kind of wisdom that you cannot get when you stay in your country, where you stay in your place and you don't move. It's not saying it's wrong or it's good, because you live a different life. If you stay in your same hometown all your life and you do your world and you have a family, it's not wrong. It's just that I feel you miss some richness of life that you cannot get either another way, that by going, putting yourself in a totally different environment and seeing truth from another angle.
Yeah.
That's what I fucking love now about travel. And that's why people that start traveling, they always say that they get the sting, I don't know, the la piqûre, they get the sting of the travel, and
The
now they
fever.
the
Sorry.
fever, and they
Yeah.
just always want to continue traveling.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Not
It's
everybody
because,
though.
no, not everybody,
Because
but
I felt traveling
most.
became an Instagram thing more than anything now. It's like I go for a weekend to one places and I just need to tick a box, and it's like, oh yeah, I traveled to this place, and I visited 120 countries. You're
Oh
like,
yeah, there's always a wrong way to do a good thing.
for me,
That's for
like
sure.
there is two things I love when I travel to understand, more about the other country or more about the people that I meet. So I'm not necessarily you don't need necessarily to travel to understand another culture.
Mm.
Um, First thing is I love talking to people. So if I'm talking to people, I love talking to people that are approximately my age, but from a different country.
Mm.
Because it's so funny when I had this discussion the other day with someone from Dominican Republic about the music we were listening at our age. We have the same age, so the kind of music, just a simple thing like that. What kind of music you were listening? And it's funny because it's completely different. It's you have some music that are the same, but you have some music that are completely different, and suddenly you see how your taste may have changed because of that, and how some politics or religion or other things I could have also like diverted. But when you think about it, right now it's global, and sure we listen more to the same stuff in the world and everything, but we are more than 30, so we didn't have internet when we were young. So when a song was basically traveling, for example, the Atlantic, it's because it was a really good song. Like not every song was traveling the Atlantic. Now every song travels the Atlantic, whether it's good or not doesn't matter. uh, and it's cool because it's like, oh, do you know that song? Yeah, I know that song also. How do you know that song? It's super old, because they think that you don't know that song because how did it travel at that time? You're like thinking, how is that possible? And suddenly people relate to same stuff, at the same time. And you have a lot of things in common. So that's the first thing that I love. Second thing is when I'm in the country is talking about food, because you see through the habits of
Yeah,
food, the kind of culture that people have. You see a lot. And
food is
this is why I
such
love
a
food.
big thing.
This
Uh-huh.
is why I love food. I love food because of that, because food is a communal thing. And whatever you say, everybody has to eat. Everybody has to eat. But the way they eat, the tradition around eating and everything, it changed completely the way family works. It changed completely the relationship towards, I don't know, like TV and around, the discussion around the table and all those kind of things. And it makes it so interesting.
Oh yeah, you just made me think of something that happened this weekend that made us realize how, again, how culture are different. Because me and Jamie, we're doing like a full vegan month,
Okay.
and like it's more of a cleaning month than a vegan month, because like we don't eat bread also and everything. Um, and then we went on an excursion and we stopped in that town, which is called Comitan, and there's not it's a really big town, but there's no tourists really that go there. It's not like a town you want to visit. It's just you have to stop there to take another collectivo to go to where we're going. And we stop in a restaurant, and we're doing a full vegan. So I mean, in Mexico, everybody eat meat. Like it's just meat everywhere. Okay, it's tacos with meat. It's just chicken on grills everywhere, and like, so we arrived in the restaurant, and I tell Jamie, okay, let's just go and ask for, because when they do these plates with meat, there's always like beans and rice and things, which is vegan. So we were like, let's just ask if to get a meal with just rice, beans, and potatoes and whatever. But you go to that person, which is just a little call that a comedor, which is just like a little like restaurant from the place, and you go there and you say, oh, do you have any vegan option? And they look at you like you're a fucking alien. Like they like, for them, vegan is like an illness. For real. Like they used to think of the gay people before, like it's an illness. And she's like, oh no, we don't do vegan. And Jamie's like, do you have rice? Yes. Do you have beans? Yes. Do you have potato? Yes. Can you make us all of three in the plate? Oh yeah, sure. It's like, okay, but you don't have any vegan.
It's because when you say vegan, like they think about something crazy, you know, like quinoa stuff. They're like, quinoa here.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's so funny how they look at you, because even she's like, do you have any vegetarian or vegan option? And they look at you like you're fucking like an alien out of this world. And they're like, what do you mean? And like, oh, I just want rice and beans. Oh yeah, well, sure, we can do that. But the word, so this made me laugh so much, and it's been a running gag all weekend, because we were always asking people about having rice and beans, and in the end we always got rice and beans and salads and potatoes and vegetable. But every time we would laugh, and we would say like, okay, let's just ask if they have vegan option, and just look at the reaction. And we're like, oh, do you have vegan option? And they're all like, oh no. Like it would be some illness. And we laughed so much this weekend doing that. So just coming back to how people, like for us, let's say we're in Quebec or in developed countries, and being vegetarian and vegan has become so widespread, and it's just a way of life, and it's so normal. Like you will get welcomed somewhere, and they all like, you don't even have to ask. Like now on the menus, there's like a place which is a vegan option, and you just say you have vegan option, and they're super welcoming. Like, oh yes, look on the menu, we have that, because it's like a trend now. But then you think it would be like that everywhere. Not at all, man. You go to these places and they're like, are you ill or something? Like, what is that, vegan?
I mean, you know, but this makes me remember when I went to the US the first time, and I went to, you know, the shops like McDonald's and everything, and you asked for a smaller Coca-Cola at the beginning. Because they're giving you 1 liter of Coca-Cola, and you're like, why? Now they don't do that anymore, you know, because it's become like, oh yeah, we need to be healthy. But when I went there the first time, I asked for the super size, because it was like, wow, you know, it costs less. But you're like 1 liter of Coca-Cola, and you're like, what am I gonna do with that? And you're like, can I have a super size but with a smaller Coca-Cola? And you're like, what? I don't get it. Same thing. I pay the same. I don't mind paying the same. Just want a smaller one. We don't do that. Like, what?
You have the small glass. I can see it. It's just right there.
I just want the smaller one. The one that you put the ice cream on. Yeah, the one that is just like that already. You know? I want this one. It's just like, you're like, and it's funny because when you talk about that, people think that you're exaggerating stuff, and you're like, no, you're not. Like, very certain places that still have those things, you know, especially like, obviously if you go to New York or if you go to big places like that, they're more like cosmopolitan, so they're more used to, for example, having cheese, having, you know, stuff like that. But I remember, you know, like we were you know, going to cottages, and so you're in Baie-Saint-Paul, for example, and so 12 or 14 years ago, like finding cheese was, you had always, the same three type of cheese. You had like, cheddar and strong cheddar and mild cheddar and light cheddar.
Mozzarella.
Don't expect to find a camembert or like goat cheese or something like that. It was like, no, this is what we have. That's the choice. And now people are opening, as you say, the stuff. And I love that. I love this kind of experiences. Like I was thinking about that this weekend, because it's like you live really in the moment of being in there and discovering a city and discovering how it works there. And if you go to this small shop, if you go to these things that seems a bit like dodgy from an elf point of view,
Yes, yeah,
you feel the real thing.
and you have to do that. Like that's a really important point. You said like, oh, some people, they just go for Instagram and check the country on their list and everything, and you don't grow as much if you do that. And also I was saying that I was here and I was like asking to eat what I want to eat in their country, but it's because I've lived here for a while. I've stuffed my face with the typical Mexican food, and I've tasted all of it, and I've ate all the tacos and the different one, and the one that they do on the street where they just chop it in front of you, and like I've ate all of that, and I've tried all of it, and that's why I understand the food culture here now. But you have to do that. You have to be open-minded. You have to go. If you go to Asia, you're gonna go and you're gonna eat Asian food, and you're gonna go to these little place where they put a little tiny chair, and it looks like really, really shady, but it's the best fucking food you're gonna find in that place. And you have to go and explore to really get that expanding feeling of really getting to see the differences. And the more you see the differences, the more you see the similarities. And I think that point for me is so important, because I believe we're all one, we're all connected, and we're just spread out over the planet. But we're all humans with the same heart, with the same blood. And it's by traveling. Basically, you're raised to see differences. You're raised to look around and see that if that person comes from another country, if they have another color, if they have another background, whatever, it's different and it's bad. It's a threat.
Yeah.
But when you travel, it's the total opposite that you get to realize. You realize that, yes, you see the differences. There is differences. But the more you see them, the more you're able to see the similarities. And the more you see the similarities, the more you open up to seeing them in others, which at first look different, but then you realize that we're all similar. And that realization really opens up a new world of beliefs for you, a new world of freedom, of love, of not seeing threat when you see someone else, of just seeing someone that has been raised in a different environment. And it doesn't makes it bad at all. It makes it even more enriching, because now you are two people coming from two different environments, and you can share together how you came up from these two environments into being friends. I just thought about maybe one last story, and it's with my friend Arthur, who's from France, sorry. And I've known this guy. I've met him in Cuba. We just clicked. We fucking loved each other, and we became really good friends. And after that, we've known each other over the span of 4 years. Okay. And I always felt we were kind of really the same, that we loved the same thing. Even if it was French, we were laughing at the same joke. We liked the same humor. We liked to drink, to to taste like liquors and to smoke a spliff together and talk about these philosophical discussion. And I really felt we were similar for 4 years. Okay. And then one day we are on his balcony smoking a spliff, having a discussion. And I'm like, I don't really know much about you, Arthur, in fact, in your childhood, like in France and whatever. I know you told me a couple things, but like, tell me more about it. Like, how was your life? And then he started telling me that he come from a royal family and like all these fucking crazy stories that when he was young, he was with all the kings and queens of Europe and like in those big like banquet like balls and halls and like with the guards that don't move at all, like with the red carpet everywhere. And he was like with this royal family and he was raised in like wealth and I was like, what? I didn't know anything about his background, and I was so mind-blowing to think that we came from such different background, and then we were friends, and we came up to like the same thing, to like each other, but we came from such different background. And that's the thing that amazed me. It was not that I was impressed that his family was come from that. What really got me impressed was I come from a little village fucking up north of Quebec, like where I have 6 months of snow all year. And when I was raised in the woods and I was building camps with my friend and eating all the berries I was finding and like, I come from a fucking like super different background. And he comes from having like 4 forks and 4 spoon at the dinner table and all these manners and in these royal gathering and everything. And we are now together on the same balcony, laughing at the same joke, smoking the same spliff, and giving ourselves the same love. And for me, that was like a total mind blown. And that's where I realized that we're all the same, because it doesn't really matter where you come from and what, it just makes it better. It just makes it so different. So then we started exchanging. Oh, how did you view that when you were that young, and how I lived that period of my life? And it was so different. And then it just made us connect even deeper. And that experience really not even deepened our relationship, which is such a good friend, but also expanded my view of life and of people. And yeah, so that's a story that really hit home for me.
That's good. I like that story. Makes me remember an image. You know, I was listening to a book. I mean, it's not a book. It's it's understanding the human behavior. So it's psychology courses. And it talks about genetics. And when he talks about genetics, he says, like, you know, it's kind of funny because when you think about it, Mozart and his sister, Mozart is Mozart, and we know him, and his sister that has approximately the same genetic background didn't do as much, you know. And he took an image afterwards explaining, you know, the difference in genetic that makes total sense with with what you were saying in your story. It's like, you know, when you do a phone number, I mean, when you were doing a phone number before, not now, and you make a mistake of one number, you know, so you do a full phone number, but you make a mistake of one number, and suddenly you have someone on the phone, but the voice and everything is totally different from what you expect. You know, you're supposed to call a male friend, you know, but you know, with a loud voice, and suddenly you're with an old lady, you know, on the phone, you know, and you're like, how from one number this person can be so different, you know. I was supposed to talk to my, you know, big friend guy, you know, that has a loud voice, and I have a small old lady that is, and I'm like, and the first question that you ask, you know, you don't even, and it's funny because when you do that, the first question that you ask yourself and you ask the person is that, is it, you know, and even if it's the voice of a woman, is it not the number of Marcel or whatever? And you're like, the other person is like, no, and you're like, there is no Marcel there. It's like you're not believing it that you could have made a mistake on the phone number, because for you, the phone number is almost like I did the 10 numbers, 9 numbers right, and the 10 I was wrong. So why is it so different? And it's exactly that. A person is basically a phone number. And maybe your phone number is the same until the 8th number, is the same until the 9th number, but the 10th is completely different. But for the rest, you're the same. You're exactly the same. Now, is it wired the same way? Is it, did you have the same experiences? Did you have the same influence in life and everything? No. But when you look at it, you're approximately the same phone number. And when he said that way more quicker than me, right? But when he said that, I decided, I'm a product manager, so I tell stories, and I think it was good as telling a story like that. And it just made me realize, it clicked for me. It was like, it's so true. Like, you can meet someone from another country, or, like us, like, I'm Portuguese immigrant family, that went to France, raised in a small city in France, and I decided to go to Canada, and you're from Bécomo, and we met in Quebec. Like, what are the chances,
I fucking love your comparison. Seriously, it's such a good way to describe it, the phone number analogy. I really, really love it. And in fact, I think that what you brought up was the flip side of the coin. Because when I was talking about my story, it's like me and Arthur, let's say we are a million number. Our phone number as a human is a million phone number. Let's just say that. Me and Arthur, our phone number are mostly all different. Like our numbers are mostly all different, but we share a couple one. And what you said is like, you can be my sister. Even let's take example, you can be twins. And even twins, they grow up to be different, because even if they have the same genetic code, what they get from their environment is going to be a little different. So they're going to grow a little different. So you have people that have the same exact 900,099 and 999 same number, and they have one that are different, and the outcome is going to be like totally different. And you have these people who have all the fucking numbers that are all different, and they have just a couple that they share, and they can still really fit together. So that just blow my mind. That's such a good analogy with the phone numbers.
And to come back on our first discussion, we say that, a lot with genetics and all that, but it's kind of funny. But sometimes, when you see people on the street, it may be that you have more in common than your neighbor that is born in the same country as you. And this person may be coming from another continent, and maybe coming from totally different culture. And maybe maybe there is a language barrier, but the rest is pretty much similar. And it's the crazy thing. And this is what I love about traveling and meeting people and having people that are coming from everywhere. It's just amazing.
It's amazing. I love having international friends, and I have more and more. I was talking about Arthur, and now
you have an international girlfriend now. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have not only an international girlfriend, but a mixed international. I mean, she has Italian, Vietnamese, and British background, and all in one. Like that's, and I really love it. So if I end the loop of the episode with my usual saying, to be yourself and to have fun, what it's going to do is that the more you recognize your uniqueness, the more you will recognize the uniqueness in others, and the more beauty you will see out of it. And it's not a black or white thing. It's not because someone is unique and that you are unique that it makes you different in a bad way, because in fact that differences is good. That you are unique and that I am unique makes the blend of the two make a podcast that has two flavors and even a third flavor because we blend in some ways, which makes it even better. So that's why I tell people, be yourself, because the more you're yourself, the more you will appreciate yourself. And the more you appreciate yourself, the more you will appreciate others in their differences, and you will be way more welcoming, and you'll less be close-minded to have this repulsive first, because you can grow to be welcoming, or you can grow to be fearful of others. And I wish more people would be welcoming, and that's by traveling. Traveling is one of the best way to grow a welcoming attitude toward others. And that's what I want to end with. Go and travel. It's such a good thing. And you don't have to go on the other side of the world. Just go somewhere that is kind of different from where you're from, so that you can learn a different point of view.
Can I add something to your be yourself and have fun?
Sure.
I will add, and it will go with that episode, be curious. Be curious. Curiosity is the beginning of everything. Before being passionate about something, before being before loving something, before anything, having an interest of anything, it's a curiosity at the beginning. If you're curious about anything, you will be passionate about a lot of stuff. It will be amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
We end
on that. I wish you a wonderful week, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us. If you like it, share it. Find us on Instagram at naked_podcast. We love also receiving comments. And thanks again for this week.
Yeah, thanks. And see you next week.
See you next week.